Are we topping, or did we already top on Bitcoin for this cycle? That's going to be the subject of this video, and I'm just going to outline my thoughts, my opinions, and my beliefs. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm not necessarily bearish on Bitcoin. I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. It's just something that I always keep track of, but I've always just been too fearful to actually hold. And I understand the use cases for it. I understand the reasons why people buy Bitcoin and why people think it will replace the dollar. Those just don't align perfectly with me, which is why I choose not to hold Bitcoin, especially right now at these elevated levels. Now, there's a few reasons why I believe that Bitcoin has already topped, and I'll outline that right now. So if we look at Bitcoin, you already see it lost momentum, right? You already see that overall it's already lost its momentum. You can say that it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like here, and we might be legging up, but I just don't see I don't see any more buying momentum, but also I don't really see any buying catalyst. There's no reason for momentum to increase in the coming few months, right? Over here, we had the Trump catalyst. We had MicroStrategy buying. We had numerous things as to why we would expect Bitcoin to pump and why there'd be more optimism and more buying pressure on Bitcoin. But over here, I feel like all that is either already priced in or it has already occurred. MicroStrategy already bought a ton of Bitcoin over here, which caused this run up from here to here. And Trump being priced in, Trump being the Bitcoin friendly president or administration, that pumped from November 5th. That caused this pump, right? We can see it right here. Now over here, I just don't see any more specific reason why Bitcoin could pump any further, unless we do see a complete, or not even complete, we see more signs of a de-dollarization, or of just the dollar getting weaker, people having less faith in the US economy. But again, we don't see that. We see more and more people moving their money to the US dollar. The dollar is getting stronger. More and more people investing in the US market, and you have more companies that are actually moving from their native country to the US market, either the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, and that just brings more power to the dollar because more people will want to flock to the dollar to buy those stocks. So I don't really see the dollar getting much weaker. One of the biggest reasons why I think that Bitcoin has started to top is we see this on MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy topped all the way back November 20th. In my opinion, MicroStrategy kind of acts like a call option on Bitcoin. It acts as if it's a leveraged play on buying Bitcoin, because if you think about it, MicroStrategy is a Bitcoin holding company, and then they buy more Bitcoin, and if you buy MicroStrategy, you're expecting them to buy more Bitcoin, and then you're expecting them to keep leveraging up on Bitcoin. So it's almost like a proxy leveraged Bitcoin play. And it's also a Bitcoin momentum play. So in my opinion, MicroStrategy almost acts as a call option on Bitcoin. Now in stocks and options, there's something called a put-call ratio. A put-call ratio basically is a way to estimate the market sentiment towards a stock. The lower your put-call ratio, the more positive the sentiment. The higher the Bitcoin ratio, the lower the sentiment. Why? Because if it's put to call, right? If you have more puts than calls, that means more people are bearish on the stock. If you have more calls than puts, then more people are bullish on the stock. So if you have less people buying MicroStrategy, which means less people are buying calls on Bitcoin, that just means that people don't see as much of a run. People don't see Bitcoin to run as much higher as they did before when MicroStrategy was much higher. So that's why I kind of see that, because you see this top, the top happened a month ago and it's just been steadily declining. So I feel that in terms of, and you kind of see that here, right? Over here a month ago in November 20th, right here is when people were seeing Bitcoin to go, as people were expecting Bitcoin to go higher and higher and higher, which is you kind of see that as almost like the precursor to the top of the market of Bitcoin. It tops over here and it slowly drips down. The other problem I have that relates to MicroStrategy is that they finished buying. And the worst part is, the scariest part is that after they finished buying, the buying pressure of Bitcoin sort of stopped. So is MicroStrategy the only buyer, or like one of the biggest? I mean, they are obviously one of the biggest buyers, but how much of the past few days of Bitcoin movement were due to MicroStrategy? Now that I see that Michael Saylor, who is the CEO of MicroStrategy, has put out this idea of, oh, we're gonna dilute our shares to buy more Bitcoin. They said they wanted to dilute it by 10.33 billion shares. They want to dilute it by that much to buy more Bitcoin. It just reeks of desperation. I don't like Michael Saylor to begin with. I feel like he's just, I just believe, it's my opinion that he's a scam artist. Look at MicroStrategy, right? Look at where it last topped. Where did it peak? Do you recognize this date? Do you recognize this year? March of 2000. That it's literally a .com bubble crash. They just peaked on having no product, just hope and aspirations, and then they dropped. Now I don't want to say that that's basically what Bitcoin is, but Michael Saylor alone is one of the biggest reasons why I do not have faith in investing in Bitcoin right now. Just because he alone is kind of a sleazebag, but that's a topic for a different video. The other problem I have with Bitcoin right now is I feel that just something bothers me about the incoming administration and his view towards Bitcoin. So this is not supposed to be political at all, but it kind of feels like Trump is only in Bitcoin in order to kind of make a quick buck, because he has said previously that he is not a believer in Bitcoin. He believes that cash is king. I can't find the interview right now, but he basically says something along the lines of he doesn't really believe in Bitcoin. And it doesn't make sense for someone that has so much money, like so much of his assets and money, to be pro-Bitcoin. Because if you're pro-Bitcoin, then you're basically anti-cash, right? In a sense, because you're not necessarily wishing for the downfall of cash, but you are assuming cash to go to zero, or at least go really low, while Bitcoin is able to maintain value. But I just don't see that in Trump. I just feel that he's still a very big supporter of cash, maybe gold, maybe assets, maybe real estate and other such like tangible assets. I just don't see him being that big of a supporter of Bitcoin. It just the intuition type thing, I'm not too sure. But those are just some of the reasons why I believe that Bitcoin has topped for this cycle. Although on the other hand, I have seen a few articles saying that cryptocurrency is topped, and the more articles that say that something is topped, the less I tend to believe that it's topped, just because I feel like the market and news is just out to get me and there's always going against what actually happens. So that is one bullish case on for Bitcoin. But if you like the price action, it just doesn't seem like it can get much above 105k. It just seems like that is a very strong resistance level, and it's tried multiple times. It did break out of it once, but it immediately dropped after. It went up to like around 108k and then just dropped back down to 95. Maybe we could be consolidating for another run up, but it's my opinion that I just don't see that happening. And because there's also going to be a lack of a catalyst, and we kind of already priced in all the good things, unless there's some type of black swan event, which I mean obviously occurs so often now, I think a black swan event might happen, sure. But unless like crap really does hit the fan and the US dollar completely goes to poo-poo, like maybe like somehow we just completely give up on debt and then the US dollar inflates to oblivion, I just don't see Bitcoin going any much further than around this area in this cycle. Maybe in the next cycle, maybe whatever. Especially that last news article of Michael Saylor saying that he'll dilute his shareholders. He wants to dilute it by a 10.33 billion shares when he only has currently around 300 million shares of public float. If that doesn't reek of just like absolute ridiculousness, I don't know what does. So those are just my thoughts. Those are my opinions. If there's anything I missed, maybe I overlooked something, please let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, have a good day. That's it.